Welcome back for another edition of Ask a Black Belt. My name is Shama Coe. I am the program director here at Girls and Geese, and Miss Erin Herle. Where you at, Erin? There you are.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
How you been doing with
Oh,
quarantining? Are you guys out yet? Are you free?
no, but I was able to go to the beach in Santa Monica and train. Oh
Ah.
my God, it was a dream. So, yeah, one of the guys that I train with was like, "Hey, me and Audrey's my main training partner." And he was like, "Hey, you should come meet up with me and Audrey. We're just gonna train kickboxing, like bring all of it, like you got your gloves, your kickboxing, everything, like a real
Oh,
class. And we're really going to
yeah.
drill, really going to train, spar, whatever." And I was like, that sounds like a dream. So I woke up early for once because normally I wake up at like 12. And then he, he told me, he's like, "Hey, Audrey wants to do it at 2. So, could you change from 12 to 2?" And I was like, okay, because I hate like waiting around. And
Oh.
finally, like I washed my mouthpiece, and I got my stuff together in a new bag, and I was like so excited. And then I got to drive down there. Now I have not driven far in
Oh.
2 months. So the last time I drove far was when I dropped my boyfriend off to the airport, and he's been in Canada. I can't see him, anything like that. So when I came down, it was just exciting. Like, even though that's a normal drive for me, I do it every day.
Oh.
I definitely felt like, okay, this is enjoyable because I haven't done it in a while, like sitting in traffic.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, we got to do everything, and it's just a weird time. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I'm training again, because
Yeah.
that's like illegal. We're not doing it at the gym or anything, but I have been able to, I don't know, like just relax more, I think, and kind of be
Uh-huh.
like, all right, I'm lazy. That's fine. But quarantine is a weird time, man. It's just weird.
Holy moly. Like I
It's like
have
being
no
grounded.
gosh. I'm
Like,
sure it feels nice like you're human again, like
yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I have a very different experience than most people because I live with my mom. My mom's 65. She's very spry and young, and she works out every single day. She actually works out more than me.
uh-huh.
And I can't bring it home. I can't, like I got to be smart, and I got to kind of like, I don't know, do what the media says and kind of be like a sheep for a little bit, because I
Yeah.
can't compromise my mom's health. If I
Yeah.
lived with friends who were all like had really great immune systems like me, I definitely would just be out and about. I mean, I would still wear a mask, do all the precautions, right? But I
Yeah.
wouldn't be scared. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird.
No, I think you and I are in the very same similar boat.
Yes. Yeah.
uh, for me, it's like being with I haven't lived with a parental in a very long time, so
For
it's
you,
being
and like, yeah, especially when you're like, all right, I'm gonna go jet set around the world. Never mind, I'm gonna go live with
never
my
mind.
mom.
You're gonna be living with your mom, and you can't leave, and you're stuck in
Yeah,
this house,
it's a bubble.
and
Yeah, like I,
you're
I
talking
left.
about digging into some old
Oh,
crap,
yeah,
like we're gonna go into your childhood a little bit, and
yeah, right.
but
It's
it's
funny because
good.
like I have the dynamic with my mom where like she can't stand dirty dishes in the sink,
Oh gosh, yeah,
and I can.
yeah, I
Like,
can too, and my mom is the same.
so like it's her thing, right? So yesterday, this is great because yesterday she was like, all right, let's go for a walk. I was gonna go for a walk, and she's like, okay, let's go. She goes, wait, let's put the stuff away from the stove. And I had like tortellini, and she had rice, whatever. So I put it in the Tupperware, and then she put the pots in the sink, right? And she
Oh,
starts doing the dishes like she always does. And she's like, why am I always the one doing the dishes? I'm like, because you're always the one doing the dishes. Like, that's literally it. I don't have an answer for that because you literally always just do the dishes. And every day that I wake up, which I've had to like tell her to like simmer it down, she tells me all the things she
oh
did
my
in
gosh,
the
my
morning.
mom recaps too. And
Yes.
my mom does a preemptive, like, okay, today we're going to do this, this, and this. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay,
Yep.
and then, but we're going to do this, this, and this. No, I heard it the first time. Okay,
Yes.
Holy
Yes.
crap.
Yes. So I feel like all of my movements need to be explained. So, you kind of want to do weird stuff where you're just like, I don't know, man. I'm just going to sit here and stare at the wall. Like, it just feels right, you know? You always have to be ready to be like, I'm staring at the wall because I'm blah, 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 blah. Like, there has to be an explanation for it. And I've had this, and so I find myself giving TMI all the time. Like, so because this is girls and geese, girls, I went to go get an IUD last week, and they were like, "Your cervix is too tight, and it hurts so bad," and they literally
Oh.
couldn't do it. So I have to take a pill that like softens my cervix or whatever. And so like I was talking to Audrey and Max, who I trained with today, and then we're talking like, yeah, we should do this more often, obviously. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so all my schedule is fully open, but because they couldn't fit the IUD into my cervix, I have to go again. so so Thursday, just in case you were gonna ask, I'm not available.
I'm sure they were really excited to know that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like they're used to it, and I kind of prepped them. I'm like, all right, so going back to the TMI, Erin, and like Audrey's like, what is she, 24? She is very bossy with training. Like she's like, if we're gonna train, we're gonna train. We're gonna do every drill perfectly. We're gonna make sure that like we can keep each other honest. I'll punch you if you're not paying attention. Not mean, but just like remember, we're here to train.
Yeah.
So Max and I would kind of be like, oh, well, when I do the kick, I do da da da. And she's like, yeah. The time's going. Just do it. We'll talk about it later. And I think some people would be bothered by that, but I'm just like, I like that. I like when someone tells me, this is what we're doing. Shut up.
Uh-huh.
You can talk later.
Yeah.
Do it. Yep. No, do it better. Okay,
Uh-huh.
cool. And that's what I have needed. So when we were leaving, I was like, oh, so glad that I have Audrey to boss me around again. She's like, I'm so glad I have people to boss around again.
I miss this
Yeah.
dynamic.
So like even though she's like way younger than me, like it doesn't matter, like she's like
Yeah.
7 years younger than me or something. But when it comes to training, it's like certain people just have their roles. And like if Max and I had been left to our own devices, he's actually a comedian. So we're just, talking and talking. That's what we
There would be no
do. There would be
training.
no training. And he was like, no, I had a plan in my back pocket just in case Audrey didn't show up. Like I had a plan. And I was like,
Ugh.
no, because Audrey will literally be like, no, we didn't do that good enough. Like we got to do it again. I'm like, okay,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah, I hadn't been training for a while, and then the pandemic hit, and then for the first time in a long time I've been like, I want to go train.
yeah,
I want
right.
to go
It takes the
train. I can't
pandemic.
have it, but I want it.
Yeah, the same with competition. I haven't competed in so long, and I actually had signed up for PANS. I was just gonna do
Oh,
masters, just
yeah.
topics. I wasn't really training a lot, whatever. So it wasn't like this huge thing. Like Erin's back. She trained really hard, but it was going to be the beginning of me coming back to jiu-jitsu competition. And
Uh-huh.
so, for the pandemic to hit and to be like, I don't know, like to just be
Yeah.
stopped by that, and you're like, maybe that was a sign. Like I don't know.
Yeah, there'll be
Um,
more. There'll be more.
of course, but at the same, it's kind of just funny how I was like, all right, I'm ready. Never mind.
Dude. But some people are getting beast in quarantine. Like there's going to be some people who
Yeah,
come out like 20 pounds
yeah,
heavier, and then there's some that are coming out that are
yeah.
just going to be like ripped,
I'm
like
just like in between. Like
yeah.
I like there's been days that I just don't eat. I don't know if it's like stress, anxiety, whatever. And there's days that I choose to eat a lot. And
Yeah.
when I eat a lot, I usually eat like carbs and stuff anyway. So it's not usually the best thing to eat. So if I kind of like measured it out, it's like, yeah, I gained some weight. I weighed myself. I'm like 146, 147. And normally I walk around at 140 or, whatever. Like I used to compete at 135 lightweight, for
Hmm.
jiu-jitsu. So yeah, especially with MMA, like if I'm going pro, I'm going to be 125. I want to be walking around like 130, something. I don't know. So for me, I'm still like, okay, that's heavy. But for the other side of it, it's like, well, who cares? There's a pandemic. Like literally everything was stripped of me. Like you're not
Hmm.
you're not supposed to be doing better or like, you know. I remember when Gianni asked Marcelo. He said, Marcelo, I'm cutting weight, but on weekends, I can't train. You know, I don't even come into the city. How do I lose weight on those days? Should I go to the gym? Should I ride the bike, all stuff? And he goes,
Mm-hmm.
Gianni, you lose during the week when you train, and during the weekend you just maintain. Your only job is to maintain. And then on the Monday, you know, you lose again. And
Mm-hmm.
so I felt like as long as I come out of this kind of like, you know, maintaining like general health, you know, where I didn't go completely off, I'm okay. And I think like my sporadic, like, I'm going to do 100 squats today, which I did yesterday, and now I'm dying. Um, or like I'm going to go hit the bag, which I
Mm-hmm.
rarely do because I'm a perfectionist. And I'm like, there's no one here to tell me if I'm doing this right. And then, right, like just running on the block. Like I was running and then there was a heat wave and I was like, can't run. Even though it was like way cooler out right now, I'm like, my dog doesn't run fast enough.
No, no, no.
You know, like you find so many excuses
Yeah.
to just be like, no. And in our heads, hi Alex, I love you. When we're in our heads, like our excuses are real. I don't know if I can say that.
Mm-hmm.
Are real. I'll cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just really, really in there. Like that's why they're excuses. To us, they're reasons. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no, I couldn't possibly. So I have some friends that like this guy Chris who got me to go to Dynamics. He's known me since not well, but we've always kind of been in the same circles since high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so he became pro kickboxer, like pro MMA, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got in an accident where his
Uh-huh.
his leg almost got completely chopped off. So he spent the last like year and 3 months rebuilding it. So now he's walking again.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, you know, so to go from being like, okay, I just fought in a glory kickboxing fight to I may never walk again, you know, like
Yeah,
that was really
that's a
hard. So
hard one.
so he helps me out a lot mentally. He's just like, dude, like I've been tested so much, like you could do it. So he's learned that he used to be like, well, don't be a little brat, you know, like just do it. And then I was like, that doesn't really work for me. So what he does is I give him my excuses and then
Uh-huh.
he breaks down the other side of it, like the rebuttals, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I think that all of us do that in our heads,
Mm-hmm.
especially like in the shower, like the shower arguments. It's like okay, like you make this choice, right? Like I'm gonna cut my hair to bangs, right? I'm gonna have bangs. And then you always go like, well, what will people think? What are people gonna say? Okay, well, what if they say, wow, things must be really crazy at home. You must be really desperate if you're cutting your own hair. And then you're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what am I going to say to that person? And like these people never come out. Like they
Yeah.
never actually do that
Yeah, they're
because
just in here.
yeah, the people that your critics are inside, like the people that you care about, their opinion, they would never say something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it's so hard because you're like, all right, so if I cut my hair, this is okay, the person's gonna say this, they're gonna say it's ugly, they're gonna say I shouldn't have done it because I'm not a professional. Yeah, so there's just a million things. Obviously, that's a really small thing, but
Mm-hmm.
when you make big situations, like even today when I was working out, there were a lot of people out. A lot of people were wearing masks, right? It was really windy. It was outside, and we were doing kickboxing, so it wasn't super close, right? So I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel, you know. Plus, I know that Audrey and Max are healthy individuals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, "Hey guys, can I post this? Like, can I tag you guys too?" And they're like, "Yeah." Like, why? And I said, "Well, because I feel like some people would go." You'd have like critics like, "Where's your mask?" And oh, wait, it's illegal still. Like LA is still closed, or how are you able to train and we're not? Or just, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you think about all those things, but they're actually real things. And it's like I have to kind of come out and say, okay, yes, I've followed all precautions. Like I had a mask in my bag if I had to use it. I was not in contact with any of the strangers. Like you have to like kind of defend yourself in that way because it's such a weird time where normally when things happen they're very isolated to a specific few, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when this all started, I really thought that it was going to be okay, so we're going to close down everything, we're going to plan our approach to how we're going to, you know, our policies in place, and
Mm-hmm.
the only people that are going to be infected are the, you know, ones with compromised immune systems, you know,
Mm-hmm.
older people, right? All those people that are more susceptible than we are. So that's what I thought. Like, all right, so life isn't going to change for me. Life is going to change for the other people who are scared. And then when, you know, you have this like everyone's affected, like everyone's got to follow in line. It's so hard. It's like it's like putting a like honors magnet smart ass people with the ADHD kids, with the special disabilities, dyslexic kids, with the, and then trying to teach them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's like, in the beginning, my mom was like, "Oh my God, they say that we should do this, we should do that, we shouldn't do that, we shouldn't do that." And I'm like, "Look, I know that it's like the news and they're speaking to you, but they're not really speaking to you. Like, you take vitamins, you work out, you have a great immune system, you rarely get sick, like you take care of yourself." The people they're talking to are trying to scare into like doing something or not doing something are people who maybe haven't been to a doctor in 7 years and they're morbidly obese. Like, those are the people. It just so happens that the you is such a general you. It,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not like, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me. Unfortunately, this whole quarantine has been like, all right, what I do actually affects other people. And we don't like to think that because we live in our bubble, right? You walk by
Yeah.
someone and you're like, I don't know, never seen that person in my life. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess they're my neighbor because they go to my grocery store, but I don't know them. I don't care about them. And then you start judging people. You drive around. Some people will look at another car, see a person wearing a mask, and go, "Oh my God, that person's so dumb. They're not even around people. Why are they wearing a mask?" And it's like, because they didn't feel like taking it off in between the multiple stops they're taking. Like, who cares, right? But it's
Yeah.
such a fine line between like, I have to care, right? Because if other people, the only way this is going to work is if other people do it. But also, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it, then you should be suffering too.
Yeah. It's such a, I think the hardest thing that for me during this time, I mean, this is such a horrible situation on so many different levels,
Right.
but again, like how you kind of touched on, like, I don't like how it's dividing us, how it's turning us against each other, how, in some ways it's kind of creating a disconnect, but then in other ways in the virtual world, it's bringing us together in ways that it
Yeah.
just wasn't before. So that could be the good. One of the goods that comes out of this is that we are more connected now, in this cyber world of
Yeah.
the matrix, but
Right.
I want to go
Well, I mean,
ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Ask you questions because that's what we're supposed to do.
That's what
Otherwise,
I was going
Erin's
to
going to talk the whole time.
do. Exactly, because you talk all the time, I talk all the time. This could go on
Yeah.
for like 4 hours.
It could.
So
There's an hour limit, though.
So I wanted to give a shout out to you guys watching. If you have any questions for Erin, go ahead, ask them. If you know Erin, she's unapologetically who she is, and
TMI.
she will not hold back. So go at it. So Alex has got a question. Oh no, she has a comment.
She's commenting on
She's
how it's political.
commenting.
It's true. It's true. What I know, Alex, they have a gym, and for her, it's not a political situation. It's a personal situation. It's literally, okay, all of our income, all of our like our passion, our life, everything, we're not allowed to do it anymore, and we're not getting help from the government like they said they would. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
really difficult
Well,
to
I think it's interesting how they're bailing out big, huge
right?
companies. And if you have 500 employees or under, you qualify for the loan. So I don't understand.
Yeah.
I
They're
don't
like, I'm
understand the
not with
decision
him.
making
I'm
there.
just a franchise. I don't know what they're saying to do it. I know that I forget what company it was, but they gave the money back because they're
Yeah.
like, nah, we don't need this. I mean,
Yeah.
that to
No.
me makes sense, but
Exactly. And have
um,
you seen that meme going around where people are like, "Hey, Home Depot's open, so bring your gi and meet me in the
yeah,
hardware aisle."
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
seriously,
Yeah, I mean,
seriously.
I'm
But
surprised there's not more going on in terms of training. Like, I know that gatherings, right, aren't like more than 10 people, but like you can have a good training session with 3 people, 4 people,
yeah.
right? And if you don't use a gym, then you can certainly, use a house. Like, I have a small area of mats, things like that. Like, people would find a way, but I'm just surprised that there aren't a lot of people to like do that. I know like the Rice brothers opened up and he's making it a huge political thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like screw the government, right? Like, it's a
Yeah.
statement. But I don't know. It's like, it's weird. Like, I thought I would see more of it because we are stubborn people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the longest that so many people have not trained. Like, I'm sure Gianni's going crazy. I know Hamelo's going crazy. Like he works out like crazy enough, like, but he can't really train, or maybe he now is. I don't know, but like he can't just like have his classes and teach, and
Yeah.
that's really hard for people. It's not the same doing things online. It's not like I think
No.
Edwin Najmi made a post, who was my old training partner from back in the day, and he was saying like there is nothing that matches like a bunch of hard rolls, like going to training,
Mm-hmm.
like the amount of calories we burn, the amount of like energy we put forth, the therapeutic response, all the endorphins involved. Like there's just nothing like it. Like you can't
No.
replace it.
No. It's
Um,
so different. Like
and it
going
makes
for a
me
run is like not quite
uh,
the same.
going for a run is painful, because
Yes.
it's not really enjoyable. Like, yeah, you're outside, right? You can find a way to make it more interesting. But I mean, when you're thinking about your lungs burning and like your legs hurting and your knees feel like they're gonna buckle, it's like there's not something to really like take your mind off it. There's music, things like
No.
that. Like I tried running for a little bit, and I always say like if I run more, I'll get better at running, and this is the
Oh,
perfect time.
yeah.
But then like I do it, and I'm like, all right, I did it, and then I'm like, I got to do it again. Like, you know, uh, same with like just regular workouts and stuff. Like I've seen, like I have a friend who uses the water jugs, fills them up, and then
Mm-hmm.
uses the gallons, like to work out. And I'm staring at them in my room. I have 2 empty gallons that I saved since like March, and I haven't done
They will
it.
be recycled. Maybe.
I mean, they will, but like I keep on saying, and I keep on like saying like, all right, so I was gonna put water, but like water's kind of
Yeah,
annoying,
yeah.
so maybe I'll put dirt from my backyard. But I know that like when we got the boxing stand, it like had a base. I put water. It wasn't really work. It wasn't heavy, so we went to
Uh-huh.
Lowe's and got like that heavy playground stand, and
Uh-huh.
I spent 2 hours literally from like a little funnel pouring, I think 250 pounds. So five 25-pound bags or whatever. And it wouldn't even go down because it was like so moist.
Uh-huh.
So I would take a scoop from Tupperware, I'd put it in the funnel, I'd take a spoon, and I'd have to like get it in there. Every single one for 250 pounds. So then I'm
Oh my
like,
gosh.
well, if I'm going to put dirt in it, I should put the good dirt. I should go to Lowe's and get it. So when I look at it, I'm like, I got to go to Lowe's. But like, I don't want to go to Lowe's. So therefore, I can't work out with these jobs. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like there's multiple steps that are just like, nope. I chose this really high standard of this really heavy dirt, and there's no
I
way,
think you should go in your yard and just dig a hole,
Yeah,
right? And then you're
yeah.
like exercising while you're digging the hole.
Oh,
And
I weed
then,
whack.
oh, there, yeah, you got a weed whacker.
So
There you go.
our backyard is like we've had horses for so long. We have one horse, but like we don't even use anything. Like since my dad passed, we don't have the tomatoes that he was growing. Like nothing is really tended to. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
weeds, and they get like this big, and like foxtails and stuff. So the mower makes sense, right? But then the mower
Yeah.
wasn't really working and stuff, and then we would have to use the weed whacker because it was so high. But the
I
weed
think we need your
whacker,
friend that counters your excuses here.
yeah.
Where
So,
is he?
but my mom still does it. My mom still does it. She did it
Oh.
today. She told me. She makes sure. She tells me. So then, you use the weed whacker, but we bought one that's like, you don't have like, it's not gas, and you don't plug it in. It has little batteries, but the batteries
Uh-huh.
only last like 10 minutes each, 15 minutes each. So it's like you charge both batteries for a long time, and then you'd go and you're doing it, and then it just like it ends, and you put the other one in, and then you're like, all right, cool, that's all I got. But I realized, so I learned in kickboxing, we do the footwork matters, right? Because you don't want to like lean too much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In boxing, you would lean, right? Because it's not really about the legs, obviously. But in kickboxing, you lean, and you can lean right into a kick and stuff. So in kickboxing, it's like you stay upright, so you move your body and you take steps, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I did a video of it, and I'm literally staying upright doing slide steps, and
Ah.
so I was able to move the way I need to for the weed whacker to work. But I wasn't extending and like having to bend over, because like it hurts after a while. Like I
It's
never
like
thought
a
I'd be here
Karate
talking about
Kid
weed
type
whacking.
of thing,
It is.
Like he
It
makes
is.
him do all the chores
Um,
and learns.
it's the same with like when I used to clean the mats at my old gym, it was, if I'm a left-handed person, so like I'm in southpaw, right? You have the mop. And then as I go to step and extend the mop, it's like a cross, right? So I'm like, I found ways to really do like Mr. Miyagi type stuff. And it's like when I'm able to do that, it's like doesn't make it feel like a chore anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
why, like I don't feel like cleaning the grout in my bathroom because I can't figure out a way that it actually helps me train. So I just don't do that.
Yeah, maybe your grips. I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
Toothbrush.
Maybe I just like clean with my mouth. I
There
could
you
like,
go.
work
Bob
out
and
my
weave.
neck. Yeah. Yeah, like it's just like you do a movement, doesn't matter what you're doing, and you're like, I've done this before.
Yeah.
Like where have I done this? Like we do because like doing something over and over again, repetition, that's such a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were doing combos in a triangle, me, Max, and
Mm-hmm.
Audrey, and then we did footwork drills, but you punch as you walk. So every step, and you're working on the rotation, and everything's the same, right? And then you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, these 14-ounce gloves are heavy. And it's just like, it's like burning, and you're just like, this is fine. This is fine.
What has been the hardest transition for you going from jujitsu and then making this transition into like kind of an MMA and incorporating stand up into your game?
There's so many differences. Like I would say, like technically, it's very difficult because jiu-jitsu is connection, and when we're not connected, I can guarantee that when I'm on bottom, it's your job, your job to step in. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to do engage, right? And in MMA, even if I do get a hold of someone, they're not just fighting me on the ground; they're literally fighting to get up. And it's like unless you're like taking someone down, if someone pulls guard, especially, they have chosen. Like jiu-jitsu is like a dichotomy. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to have one or the other. Like if I'm in bottom side control, it means you're in top side control, right? It's very yin and yang. So if I'm choosing to be on bottom, you're choosing to be on top. The same if I choose to be on top and take you down and you start playing guard, I don't have to worry about you leaving. I mean, unless you consider other rules that people try to stretch in jiu-jitsu and they try to like, flee out of bounds. But it's kind of like, because getting up is like, wow, I did everything and they still got up and now they're punching me in the face. So in MMA, you have to really hold on to people and keep them down. And so they're not trying to play jiu-jitsu with you. It's not like you take them down and you're like, sick. What guard are you going to play? Like, no, they're just like, for most, right? They're going to be like, hell no, I'm getting out of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's probably one of the hardest. And like with striking, striking is easy. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, like with Conor McGregor and stuff, what he'll do is he's southpaw like me. He'll kind of take his hand out and like touch the person and kind of keep it out there. Because imagine if, like I was watching the movies and the only move this guy had was he would grab the back of the head of the guy and do
Mm-hmm.
uppercuts. And like
Ah,
that makes sense because you know exactly where to land because your other hand is holding it, right? You just
it's like
meet the
guiding
hand.
it.
Yeah. So I was like, if only that was the thing and that was really that easy in fighting because it's hard to know where the person is. And just because you hit them once doesn't mean that you're within range. Like they move, he will move in and out. I'm moving in and out. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's kind of like I just want to grab him by the shirt and, you know, so that connection, not having that connection. Also the learning is very open. Obviously, it's a very creative thing. So you have to know yourself
Mm-hmm.
before you can really learn how to do everything. Because you can't do everything. It's like jujitsu. In the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, you learn basics and you start adding more and more, and you kind of start realizing at blue belt, like, okay, this is what I've been good at so far, and this is what I'm going to continue doing
Mm-hmm.
and or just this feels right. Like it doesn't matter how many times I learned deep half in class. Like I learned under Bernardo Faria at Marcelo Garcia's. Like he used to teach class, he would teach deep half. I would do it, but when it came to rolling, I never found myself in that position because it just wasn't something that my body wanted to do. And I'm not saying like deep half sucks. I'm just like it just doesn't feel right. That's the only way I can explain it. So in MMA, you still have to go from scratch and you're learning everything. and you got to choose like, what do I like? What feels right? What am I good at? In the beginning, you're good at nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And just because I want to play jiu-jitsu doesn't mean that I can just go to jiu-jitsu. I have to get a hold of them. I have to take them down. I have to avoid punches. There's a lot of things. And yet people were so scared to fight me. And I'm like, you realize you can punch me in the face, right? Like, that's not what I'm really great at. So that's difficult. Like, just kind of figuring out who you are again. And I went through so much. Like, jiu-jitsu is a journey. Jiu-jitsu, you learn who you are, what you're capable of, what you're not capable of, and how you adapted to get over that, right? Because, like, there's no
Mhm.
such thing as I can't do that. It's like, no, you could do it. There's just some sort of, adaptive way for you to do it. Someone who's not flexible, someone who is flexible. Like, I'm so flexible that my seminars, I will literally say, okay, I know that I'm really flexible, and maybe I haven't taught this enough at seminars to know, but if you are not flexible, like, let me know. Like, let me know if there's a thing that only I can do. Like, you guys are going to be my feedback. Because I stay on my toes, so my toes bend like this. Like, I know people that can't do that, and they have to kind of bend their toes this way. And, I'm not going to be like, that's wrong. It's like, try it, try my way. If it doesn't work, we're going to figure out a way for you. So it's
Yeah.
like, teaching that way is like, do something or they're not. But yeah, just figuring out like what you're good at. Like, for me, I like kicks. I'm flexible. I can kick you. I can kick your head from where I'm standing. Like,
Go for
and
it.
so it's
Come
just,
on, Erin.
yeah. So for me, it's like I'm not even standing. But yeah, so when you like something, you're able to kind of be like, all right, I want to do that more,
Yeah,
And then there's
yeah.
the things that like they're not good, even though I like to do them, like going for takedowns without setting it up. And like, there's so many times that me and Audrey will be training, and she'll just happen to go for a kick at the time that we won't even be going hard. We don't do hard sparring all the time,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, take down, oh, knee. and she's and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I was like, it was my choice. Like, it was a choice I made. It was a fast choice. It was a bad choice.
Oh,
And I'm willing to pay the price.
yeah,
Like, for me, I need, like, because it's not like, I'm going to kill you. It's just like, boop, like, oh, that kind of
yeah.
hurt. That I don't want to do that again.
Yeah,
I need
I
to learn
remember
that.
being afraid of takedowns like early on because of them accidentally having that reaction, and just
Right.
being like, oh, I think it happened a
Yeah.
few times to me.
Yeah. It's spazzy, It's just a
That's so good.
spazzy
But
thing.
I remember, like, I think it was probably the second time that we met in person was when you came to Austin and you and your sister brought Submit the Sigma. And I love your sister. She's such a
Yeah.
sweetheart. And it was so awesome to be able to, like, kind of hang out and get to know you a little bit better during that
Mm-hmm.
trip. You know, and I love what you've done with Submit the Stigma. I think it's phenomenal. I think that it's rare for a lot of women, I find, tend to, and this is just my unprofessional experience, they tend to be a lot more open about talking about
Yeah.
our weaknesses,
Yeah.
or our mental health is maybe not a weakness. Mental
But
health is could be a
vulnerability.
vulnerability. That's a better word.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I find that's really cool about what you've done is you've been able to address it to everyone. And I don't know if men in jiu-jitsu were open to talking about their mental health before or after coming to jiu-jitsu, but I think it's phenomenal how you can hear guys talking about, hey, I suffer from depression. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
not something that in our society you hear on a normal basis. What are your goals with Submit the Stigma? Like, ultimately, like, what is kind of the end goal that, and I'm sure it changes over time, but right now, what is a big goal that you guys have as an organization, especially during this time where
Yeah.
mental health is so unstable?
I admit that I should be doing more, that I always I should have been doing more. But I sort of turned into more of an ambassador role. Like, I am the founder, but I'm not the person who is always behind it, because I struggled with identity when I was a photographer and I worked for Gracie Mag, because I was writing the articles, but I also wanted to have the articles written about me. And when you say, like, imagine I'm making my website. My website is about the athlete, where I say, these are the these are the podcasts that I've been on, and interviews that I've done, right? And then I'm like, in my writing stuff, I'm like, these are the interviews I've done. It's like, well, no, I interviewed these people and this is my work, right? And then I was interviewed because I do that thing too. So it was always me being like, I do that too. And so I think I've never wanted people to just be like, oh yeah, I know you from Submit the Stigma, which is always the case, right? It's a lot of the times the case. But me personally, with my goals, like I didn't want to just be Submit the Stigma. So I kind of stepped away from it a little bit. But Valerie Brousseau, who actually runs the Submit the Stigma Facebook and the Instagram and like basically does all of that, answers messages and stuff, she took it over and it made it so much easier because she's phenomenal at it. She lives in Toronto. She's a suicide attempt survivor. She's attempted a couple times, and thank God that she didn't succeed because she's here to help a lot of people. She was voted one of the best volunteers at in her region, the Durham region of the Greater Toronto area, the GTA.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's literally got awards. She's phenomenal in the way that she writes. She's a poet, right? So she can do so many things. So she's helped out a lot, and she's managed it above all. She's actually very productive, unlike me. So for me, I just wanted to make it aware, spread the campaign, this and that. And then it became, well, I should be paying more attention. I know I don't want to be that mentally ill fighter, but you know what? If I have to be the mentally ill fighter, then that's what I am. If I'm going to be pigeonholed into something, like I'm sure there are plenty of kind of like people like my mom and I, there's a fighter, I won't name his name, but he's got weird nipples. So we're like, the weird nipple guy is fighting, and for me, it's like, if you find a way, it's like, oh, it's that Russian guy. Yeah. So I don't mind. I don't mind being a mentally ill fighter. Like if you're like, she's crazy. She's a loose cannon. Let's see what she does today.
Hey, you can
That
do
would be
so much
great.
with the marketing on
Yeah.
that, though.
Right. So like, it always reminds me of Hey Arnold episode. I always bring this up. It's the, don't hit me. I'll hit me. And they're like, we can't do what? He's crazy. And they just leave him alone. That's me. I'm like, so yeah. So eventually it became, all right, well, we need to do so much more with this. And so when I first started, even before that, I did a mental health first aid course. So a few months after my dad died by suicide, I went to a mental health first aid course when I was still living in New Jersey. So I went to New York, 2-day thing, and I was certified for like dealing. It's like CPR, but for mental health, right? So it's recognizing the crisis, recognizing what they might be struggling with. But the most important thing that I learned was that you ask people how they're doing, or if you mention, it's stepping in, right? It's one thing to offer help. Like offering help is hard, okay? But if you're able to offer help, then you should. But with mental health, it's not something that we can step in. We're not allowed legally to help them unless they ask for it. You cannot help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. Now, when you have a physical situation, it's very, very easy. Like, not always easy, but it's going to be easier. They're going to be struggling, right? Physically to a point where they're like, okay, all right, I'll go get help. I'll go to a doctor, whatever. I think it's a little bit easier, because there's no stigma against it. It's not like, no, I have a powerful immune system and I choose to fight this by myself. Like, can you imagine if people were just like, no, you know how many push-ups I could do? This flu, nothing. I don't need any medication. Like, that's kind of what it seems like.
Yeah,
So for people to accept that, they need to accept the help as well. So it's like, if I saw someone, like, even if I know them, I don't know them, it's like, hey, is everything okay? Like, can I help you? Right? Then it was like going into, okay, are you feeling suicidal? Like, just flat out saying it. Like, are you feeling suicidal? Do you have a plan? And they said, yeah, like I'm standing on this bridge, whatever it is. And it's like, do you have the means to carry out that plan? Whether it means like having the knife, the gun, whatever that they choose, it's kind of morbid to think about, but and then saying, can I help you? And you staying with that person. Can I get you professional help? It's always being that one step to getting someone into professional help, whatever they need. I don't know if it's a crisis that they need to go to a psychiatric place. So I've always wanted to just teach people that it's okay, one, to be vulnerable, but that's a whole other project. My friend Jiggy Yoon runs Vulnerability is Dope. It's a great, great, great company. And so being vulnerable is one thing, but like accepting help and not being ashamed to say like, yeah, I needed help with that. Because yes, there are mood disorders, right? But just because we feel something doesn't mean we can control it all the time. And I don't know if you know the Myers-Briggs. Um, it's
No.
there's 16 possible personalities, and like I'm
Okay.
an ENFP. So you're either extrovert or introvert. You're either a feeler or a sensor, intuitive or judging, and sensing or perceiving, something like that. So I'm an ENFP, and so therefore I'm at the F, right? Like it's going to be like more feeling. So other people are very logical. They're like, no, I make my decisions off of this. This makes sense, right? And then other people are like me, it's like, well, I do not feel like doing that, so I can't make myself do it. And it's recognizing that people are like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think with mentally ill people, sometimes that's hard to control, especially with mood disorders and whatnot. And even though the brain is an organ, it's very, very complicated. And our consciousness is a bitch, you know? Consciousness makes it really hard to survive because you're like,
Oh
I
yeah.
want to do this, but I need to do this. You know what I mean? And having that like ability to go off and do that is huge. So I think uh, teaching people how to do that. So also, I've had issues. Not I wouldn't say big issues, but I've had instructors in the past that didn't fully understand why I was the way I was. Now, I'm not asking for a hall pass. I'm not asking for someone to say, "Oh no, you can't yell at her because she'll cry." I don't
Yeah.
want that, but I just
Yeah.
want to be understood better. Like I said earlier, if you're just like, "Hey, don't be a pussy," like that doesn't work for me. Like maybe that does work for some people. It really
Mm-hmm.
does, and they
Mm-hmm.
get tough and it just puts them into action. It doesn't for me. Um and so people need to be mentored different ways. So I wanted to make an instructor course just like I did for the mental health
Awesome.
first aid. So Valerie teamed up. She got like I forget what you would say, not approval, but like the backing of a psychologist, because neither her or I are fully like licensed or anything like that in the mental health field, the
Mm-hmm.
medical field. And so when we make the instructor course, she did a whole manual. So actually, it was a weekend right before PANS when all the pandemic started. She was supposed
Uh,
to fly to my house. Christina was going to fly down early, Christina Barlan, who's done huge things for Submit the Stigma Alone, and then my sister. And we're all going to be taught the program so that we can
awesome.
become instructors. So Val would instruct us to be instructors, and then we could spread our wings and set it up. I even have Bryant Pangelini as in Concord. He
Oh
has
wow.
Saber Jiu-Jitsu, and he's like, yeah,
Yes.
for
He's
sure.
awesome. He's
He
awesome.
is. He's big with Mission 22. What's the butterflies one? I forget. But
Uh,
so
autism. It's the
yeah,
autism
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't
Black
remember the
belts for
name. There
butterflies.
we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's really, really interested to do it. So he's just like, yeah, like use my gym. I will become an instructor, that's certified. And so I realized like, Smith Stigma is a nonprofit, and when you think about mental health first aid, you're like, no, they're like an organization. They set a standard, and what they're teaching is like, I'm certified. It's like, well, no, they're literally just a nonprofit who made up their own certification. So
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing is we could do that too. So imagine if I can literally certify people, and they can put them on their wall and say, I'm certified to deal with mental health,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot that happens. Like I remember I asked Val, I said, Val, so give me a situation where this would be required. And she goes,
Mm-hmm.
all right, so say someone has really, really bad OCD and they go to step on the mat, but there's 3 black geese and everyone else is wearing white and they're just having a hard time with it. And I'm like, wow, I never thought of that. Like most
Mm-hmm.
people would just find an excuse to leave,
Mm-hmm.
or they would be really, really uncomfortable the whole time, whatever, and it's not our place to make fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So people normally keep it to themselves. But imagine if an instructor kind of notices, like they recognize, right, something, and then they say, "Hey, do you want to go to a private place to talk? And can I help you? Okay. Well, if you can't handle it, would you like to come back another day? Being that person who takes the feelings and then makes it logical and kind of plants it into a reality. I'm not saying that every instructor is supposed to be that. Like
Yeah.
some people sign up to do jiu-jitsu and some people sign up to teach jiu-jitsu. and then they teach jiu-jitsu and they learn jiu-jitsu and that's it. But it's so much more complicated than that. Like everyone
Mm-hmm.
knows that when you become a jiu-jitsu instructor, and I wouldn't know, I teach seminars, but that's it. You have not a responsibility, but you should care about your
Yeah.
students and their mentality. And it's such like a mental thing. It's a subculture. It's a community, and not it's not like one person is responsible. Unfortunately, I think instructors get that rap, like especially when they're Brazilian. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they have some Brazilian knowledge that we don't know, and you're just like, yes, you are in charge of everything that I want to be. Like if you say I want to be a black belt world champion, all right, this is the path. This is the way. You know, it's like we just expect them to tell us like how to do everything. What should I
Yeah.
eat? How many hours of sleep should I
How do
get?
I breathe? I forget how to
Yeah,
breathe.
yeah. So yeah, you have a lot to like be like responsible for. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
important.
absolutely.
But
No.
imagine if you could really make a place in someone's life. Uh, I've done that to people. Not two people, four people. Um, where I've been that person that like suddenly something made sense to them, or suddenly they were like finally motivated to do something, or their insecurities went away. There was a girl, Nicole, that was over at Fabio Clemente's, and I was there, and I think we were doing some podcasts. I happened to be in I went into the changing room, and she was really insecure about something, and I just was like, dude, why? Like, this is gonna happen. You're gonna get through this. You do this. This is normal in jiu-jitsu. Blah blah blah. And now she's a purple belt and like winning stuff, and it's like And she said like, wow, that talk really helped me. And I've had
Hmm.
those too, which we talked
Oh
about.
yeah.
Coming up on the podcast, we talked about those
Yeah.
talks. Like,
Uh,
those are important. So
Absolutely.
so you remember them, and I think that just being that, and like sometimes just having submit the stigma exists. People are like, whoa, there is a link between mental health and jiu-jitsu. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, like there's certain
Absolutely.
people that you follow that maybe you don't know. I think people have said this to me too. Like, they're just like, I want to hang out with you. Like, I just feel like you would be my friend. Like, I know that you are this person who stands for this, you're important, whatever, but
Yeah.
like, can we be friends? And I'm
Because
like,
you're an awesome friend, Erin.
I
You
try.
are. You are.
When I'm all there, yeah. I'm like, if you would FaceTime me any other time, I wouldn't have answered.
No, I feel you. In
Yeah,
my cave. In my
I have friends.
cave.
My friend Vanessa always calls me. Like, she'll like FaceTime me, and like, I love her, but I'm just like, she has a lot of energy, and I just can't match that energy right now. And I literally ignore it, and then she'll text me, and
Really?
or she'll text me first and be like, beware, I'm going to call you. And then I still don't answer. I'm like, no.
Like,
Um, but
oh,
so just being a friend in jujitsu, I think
yeah.
is important, and just like, yeah. So ideally, I think Submit the Stigma should be funded that way. Those are the types of events that I want to put on, because they put everything. It's not really about the money, but if I think about it, I would love to make it my salary. I would love my salary to come from my nonprofit. If that was all I had to do, was just be me, do what I'm already doing, but find ways to help people better,
Hmm. Hmm.
and be more efficient with that as a business, because it's still a business.
Yeah.
That would be probably perfect for me. And then I could have my MMA career and still do that. So yeah, it's weird, because we always say like, okay, so we'll do a video chat where we do the instructor course online, and
Hmm.
like I'll just send everybody what they need through the PDF. But like, just, I don't know. It's like, you just don't do it. I don't know why. It's like, uh, and then I get these emails where it's like, okay, yeah, we do, this is my story, and I read it, and I'm like, wow, it's a really impact. So that I should do a lot more, but it's just doing it is the hard part.
Sometimes it's the timing too. Like what I've found doing Girls and Geese is that I've had, I mean, this segment, for instance, this is a segment we started about 5, maybe 7 years ago, and the event started getting more and more, and we opened more chapters, and it was like, well, I don't have time to sit around and talk,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and so we brought it back, and we brought back a whole slew of them. So I think it's the time. Sometimes the timing isn't right, but if the ideas are there, then eventually that timing will line up. I think That's the
Yeah.
most important thing is, but
I Yeah, I think it's a blessing, to be honest. Like, to be like, it's literally saying, okay, so how are you without jujitsu?
yeah,
Right? I
exactly.
think anyone can answer that, and it's going to end up being how they feel about themselves, their happiness level, their energy levels. Like, then they realize, like, wow, it really is something that's helped me mentally. And this is such a mental thing, mental hurdle to get over. Like, why am I grounded? Why am I not able to leave my house? Like,
Right. Oh, it's
uh,
awesome having you on, Erin.
yeah, always,
It's
always.
always fun chatting with you. I could go on and on. We could
I
go
know we should
into
probably just do this privately because we're so good at
oh
it.
God. Oh, but I really am grateful for what you do. You know, not only does it mean something to me personally, but you know, you are really what you've done, and it's inspiring for me too to hear where this idea came from. It came from your pain, it came from your
Hmm.
loss, it came from your heartache, and that's a part of helping your own mental illness sometimes. And doctors say, you know, if you're having a hard time, helping others is a way for you to get outside
Yeah,
of your own problems.
yep.
And I know that's helped me in several times in my
I'm just
life as
using
well.
all of you to help myself.
For my own
The
happiness.
more people I help, the stronger I get. That's literally it. People when they send me stuff, they're like, "Oh, I guess you've heard this before," or "I just want to tell you that what you do is important." I'm like, dude, I needed that. Like, you have no
Yeah.
idea. Like, I was feeling like I suck,
No.
but you tell me I don't. So
No.
it's awesome to
100% I
hear.
know what you're saying because I'm the same way. Well, some
Yeah,
days
we're
I'll
very
be like,
similar.
"Oh, is anybody even listening to this Ask a Black Belt? Are they
Yeah,
just having a really fun conversation with Erin and we're just like being ourselves or
yeah,
you know, but and then
yeah,
once you get those comments back saying, you know, thank you so much for this,
yeah.
it meant a
You're
lot. That
welcome.
yeah. No, but yes, tune in, you guys. May 22nd, we are debuting the podcast. We have some girl talk.
Very deep girl
It's
talk.
some really good girl talk. I've been listening to it like 10 times, 20 times during the editing, and I'm like, yes, yes. Oh, this is gonna be great.
Periods and pain.
I think these gestures and
Yeah.
these gestures are like says it all. So, oh yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot
this was
about
the
that
most
one.
important one. I learned a lot from this.
Go to girlsandgeese.com, find all these interactive activities we got going on. Thank you
Yeah.
again, Erin.
You're welcome. Thank you
Always
guys.
fun. Yes,
It
thank you
was.
everybody for tuning in for all the love. We appreciate it, and I'll talk to you later on, girl.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.